Our court case is going to be filed in federal court for violating our constitutional rights. This case is being sponsored by the Erotic Service Providers Legal Education and Research Project. We're a diverse, community-based group of erotic service providers and community members who seek to empower our community and advance our sexual privacy rights through a legal impact case such as this one. We have retained a top-notch litigator. He is very expensive.
You propose this idea of, can we make any kind of an argument and attack the prostitution law of the state of California, on the basis, the dissenting opinion of Justice Scalia in Lawrence had said, with this ruling about morality not being a basis for legislation, states are going to have to go back and review and take a look at gambling laws, prostitution laws, and obscenity laws, because it's the same justification. No matter what way you put it together, how do you show that there really deep down are terribly harmful effects in that? And I said, it really sounds like this is a perfect opportunity to go ahead and start this challenge. The perfect place to do it is in Northern California. It seemed that that's where we did on free speech. Unfortunately, we drew a fairly conservative district court judge in the Free Speech Coalition case back in 1998 or 99, and we lost quickly, but we won rather quickly in the Ninth Circuit, and then the Supreme Court upheld it. So we decided that, it sounds like a great idea. We've been following, with the assistance of Maxine, what has been going on in Canada and the decisions and very well-reasoned opinions that have been written by the Canadian jurists. We also have been taking a look at, where, other matters throughout the United States and in Western Europe and in Australia and New Zealand, where prostitution is not really illegal as long as it's done in, private areas. Obviously, we're not encouraging that, acts of prostitution occur right up on Union Square or whatever you call it, in the public areas, but, people to make these choices privately. We are not advocating the advancement of human trafficking. We're in fact very anti that, and that there are plenty of laws to deal with those subject matters. But what we do feel is that women and men who choose to go into the oldest profession in the world be entitled to go on and do their profession, and do it not with the fear that they're being subject to a sting operation and some cop setting them up to make a bust and to completely turn their lives around and basically ruin it with labeling them something that they, is undeserving. That they're voluntarily a choice that they've made, a choice that the patron or the consumer of the product has made. And I think that in a free society, we really believe it's important for people to be able to make those decisions. Historically, when this nation was formed, we do not believe that there were prostitution laws that were on the books. This country developed into a world power. I like to talk about all the stories that we read in the history is the railroad came west, and the brothels and the places became historic sites. So it's clear that this has been around. It's really not till the early parts of the 20th century that it began, communities started to outlaw it. And again, the only basis for really doing it would have been morality. Back then, I don't think that there was as much a concern or problem with human trafficking. The biggest problem I think that we're going to have initially is overcoming the recent bad publicity that's been coming out on television, like on Dateline and all those kinds of programs, where they've made this big deal about the exploitation of women that are being brought over here from the Middle East or wherever, in the massage parlors and situations like that. And of course, television, that sells, and they're just really selling a story. And I've learned from my career and experience that you can never rely on the media really taking a positive position for what they think is unpopular or is not politically correct. And the reason for that is they're dependent upon advertisers, and advertisers a lot of times don't want to be associated with basic principles of freedom, Newspapers are not like they used to be, where they're advocates of free speech and really the protectors in all that. You see by the, what's going on now. We really fought a lot of battles in the 70s to get freedom of information and have open government, transparent government. Now all of a sudden we're talking about transparency is dangerous, and that if we don't start to curb all that, our soldiers are going to be at risk and our nation's at risk. And we do that based upon creating fear, and that's what they want to try to do. It sells if they can make these kind of human stories about the exploitation of women that are brought here to work late hours and all that. We're not talking about that. We're talking about people that have made a conscious decision. This is what I want to do to make a living. There's nothing wrong. It's an American principle to be able to exercise your right of liberty. There's cases that go back to the late 1800s that talk about your right to choose your own profession where nobody is really injured. Nobody ever gets hurt. I don't know. I guess a couple guys have maybe died of heart attacks when, or something like that. No better way to die, I guess, or to have a heart attack than that. But, that's the only really negative effect of any of that. I think everybody is conscious of, practicing safe sexual activity. It's all consensual. And, obviously, activity between consenting adults now, virtually throughout the United States, is all legal. As long as there's no money exchange, except in the state of Nevada and two various counties there. And we really think it's time to put on a challenge and say, okay, the time is ripe now.
The ruling can be used in other parts of the United States and will cover everybody, including our customers. It's the most cost-effective way to move forward. This case will probably take a year to several years. So the money we're asking for now is considered an installment. For those who've been saying that it's not right what they do to us, it's your chance to contribute by making a tax-deductible and anonymous donation.